Espera que no hay nadie todavía. Hello, everybody. We'll be waiting for a few minutes before we start. People are coming in. Hello, everybody. Just as you come in, we'll be starting soon. So we'll wait for everybody to just join in. Okay, one more minute. Okay, hello, everybody. My name is Susanna Ecclestone. I'm the Executive Director at the British Argentine Chamber of Commerce here in London. And we are very proud to have with us today Federico Cincotta, who's one of our board members and director here at Cincotta International. So Federico is a dual qualified solicitor in England and Wales and an Argentine lawyer. He's the founder and executive director of Cincotta International Advisory Firm, as I said, a legal consultancy firm with offices in London and Argentina. He's currently a board member of the BACC, vice chairman of SOBAL, the Society of British Argentine Lawyers, and committee member of the Anglo-Argentine Society. Federico has 20 years of legal work experience and has worked and trained with leaders in their field in both private and public sectors. Federico, thank you very much for being with us today. We are going to be talking extensively on the new knowledge-based economy law. This is a follow-up event. We had our first event in January. And just to clarify, and be more specific about the scope of the law, we decided to carry out with the second event. There's a lot of interest from our members and our network as to the whole, not only scope of the law, but the different bits and pieces that people may not be aware of. So Federico, thank you very much for being with us today. We'll be carrying out a kind of interview format. You are free to make questions, post your questions in the Q&A section, and I'll be getting to those at the end. Ready to start, Federico, thank you very much again. And let's just, I'm going to just make the question and then you won't see me, and then I'll leave the whole screen to you, all right?
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, so let's share the screen. Give me 1 second. All right, very good, excellent. So Federico, why Argentina?
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Susanna, for the introduction. It is a real pleasure to be here with you today to discuss the amendments to the knowledge-based economy law recently introduced by the Argentinian Congress. Very good question. Why Argentina? Well, to start with, Argentina, it is the third largest economy in Latin America, behind Brazil and Mexico. It's a potential market of 43 million people. Moreover, the government embraced a market-friendly approach with the business community and investors alike. Let's not forget that Argentina is the first LATAM software exporter, totaling 1.7 billion, and that 50% goes to the US. It is the third export industry, representing 8.4% of total exports. Moreover, I would also mention that Argentina has produced 5 unicorns. Amongst those, we have OLX, Despegar, Globant, and of course, Mercado Libre, which is the largest company in Latin America and the second that grew the most in the last year. Finally, I would mention that Argentina has over 40 tech poles throughout the country: Córdoba, Mendoza, Tandil, just to mention a few. And we also have 500,000 highly qualified professionals, of which over 100,000 are graduates in technological career. So those are the reasons why Argentina.
Excellent. Now, what are the competitive advantages of Argentina in comparison with the rest of Latin America to export global services, you think?
Well, Argentina has many competitive advantages in comparisons with the rest of LATAM. The first one that I would mention is its talent. Argentina ranks first in technological skills according to Coursera. It also has the highest English proficiency index score in Latin America. This was back in 2019. And ranks second in the region for generating most valuable tech companies. The first one I understand it is Brazil. Secondly, I would mention the environment and time zone. Argentina is located in a convenient time zone. Imagine that you can reach the entire Americas and Europe within, give or take, 5 hours. Additionally, Buenos Aires is a cosmopolitan city with a unique cultural proposal in the region. The sector maturity, we should not forget, this is a sector that has over 12 years of sector maturity, and Argentina is the first country in the region to establish shared services center. I would also mention some sectorial incentives. Yes, we have fiscal incentive for companies that establish in Argentina, such as the knowledge-based economy law that we are discussing today. There's also the entrepreneurs law and the 40 technological poles that I've mentioned just before. I should not forget the quality of the infrastructure, that is high quality office space, cheaper than the rest of the region. Additionally, that 75% of the population has access to fast broadband, and there's very good access to public transport. Finally, I would mention the costs. There are convenient costs. So the competitive cost structure in the middle and the upper level pyramid. So those are the things as to why I think that Argentina has some competitive advantages in comparisons to the rest of LATAM at the time of exporting global services.
And what are the objectives of the law by 2030, you think?
The objectives is certainly to increase by 25% exports per worker, that is to 40,000 USD. The law aims to duplicate employment in the sector by creating just below 500,000 job posts. It would also benefit by 2030, 11,000 companies and over 2,000 employees. As well, I would mention multiply by 2.5% the amount of exports, so going from 6 billion to 15 billion. Those are the objectives of the law to be reached by 2030.
Excellent. Well, that's a very ambitious plan.
It is indeed for Argentina, but there we are.
So we look forward to seeing that happening. And what is the...
It is a sector that has grown a lot in the last couple of years. So, you know, hopefully the targets can be reached.
Yes, and you know, from our experience at the Chamber is one of the sectors we work on the most, and this law is very attractive for some of the companies that we normally meet with at the Chamber. So that's why we bring it up again, because we think there's a lot of opportunities, you know, of further development on both sides.
Indeed.
What is the aim of the knowledge economy-based law?
Well, the aim of the law is to promote economic activities. Now, those economic activities need to apply the knowledge and data digitalization, and they should rely basically on scientific and technical advancements to obtain either provision of goods and services as well as process optimizations. So it's goods and services and process optimization, always applying the knowledge and data digitalization. Now, this regime was effective as from the 1st of January 2020, and it will be valid until the 31st of December 2029.
Excellent. Thank you for that.
So it's going to be for 10 years.
Okay. And what are the activities that the law promotes?
In terms of the activities, it is software, computer, and digital services, but not just software and computer and services, also professional services in the broader sense, as long as they are exported. So the professional services need to be exported. And then engineering for nuclear industry, Internet of Things, augmented and virtual reality, aerospace and satellite industry, artificial intelligence, robotics and industrial internet, as well as biotechnology, neurotechnology and genetic engineering, audiovisual production and post-production. There might be one or two that I might be forgetting, but those are the main ones. And I would like to stress the fact that professional services are included. So it's not just technological in itself, in the sense that it's professional services, but the professional services need to be exported in order to be into one of the activities that the law promotes. Now, this new law by far exceeds the current software industry promotion regime, not only in terms of the activities covered and fields promoted, but also the benefits, yes? And let's not forget that the national executive branch may incorporate new activities and fields according to the new emerging technologies.
If we have missed any of the sectors, please contact us, because probably they are included in this scope, I think. And you know, Federico will be happy to answer questions about that. We know that it covers most sectors or all sectors, but obviously, as you said, in the professional services, perhaps is where the secret lies, right?
Exactly. That is where the secret lies. That's why I'm specifically about professional services in its broader sense, but as long as they are exported. So the professional services need to be exported.
Excellent. What does a company need to do to enjoy the benefits of the law? Do they have any requirements?
Yes, there are quite a few actually. So in order, if a company would like to enjoy the benefits, what they need to do is, first of all, they must perform one of the promoted activities. The promoted activities need to be performed in Argentina on their own behalf, and it must be their principal activity. There's also a register, what they must register with the National Registry of Beneficiaries in order to enjoy the benefits. Additionally, they have to be in compliance with fiscal, labor, union, and social security obligations. And the way that they will demonstrate that they are in compliance with all these factors is that they will be issued a debt-free certificate. Now, on top of that, they must also prove that at least 70% of their annual revenue derive from one of or more of the promoted activities. And in the case of companies that they have not yet, for example, issued an invoice because they are a startup, they need to carry out one or more of the promoted activities intensively. Yes, they need to incorporate the knowledge derived from the scientific and technological advancements to their products and services or their productive processes. Yes, so either you or your total turnover, or at least 70% of your turnover, or if you're a new company, you need to apply the knowledge and data to your product, services, or processes. And finally, they would need to comply with at least 2 of the 3 requirements that I will mention now. So the first one would be, one of the requirements is the continuous improvement in the quality of their services, products, or processes, or they need to adhere to a quality norm, like for example, ISO 9001. And that norm must be suitable to the services, products, and processes that they apply to. Or number 2 would be investments either in employee training or research and development. In the case of the employee training, it must represent at least these minimum percentages, which is 1% for micro enterprises in relation to the previous year's payroll. It will be 2% for medium-sized companies and 5% for big corporations. And in terms of the research and development activities, again, they have to comply with the minimum requirements, which are the same ones that I just mentioned. It's going to be 1% for micro enterprises, 2% for small and medium-sized enterprises, and 3% for large corporation. And this is always in relation to compare to their previous annual revenue. And number 3 would be the export of goods and services. Again, they must be derived from one of the performance of any of the promoted activities. And the minimum percentage to qualify is going to be 4% for micro enterprises. This is always in comparison to their previous total annual revenue. And then it's 10% for mid-sized companies and 13% for large corporations. So those are all the requirements that a company must satisfy before it can enjoy any of the benefits established in the knowledge-based economy law.
I think it's going to force a lot of companies to measure their results and their strategy much better to be able to comply with these requirements. But at the same time, I think it's very beneficial for companies to start to understand the scope of the benefits that they would have if they meet these numbers, right? Indeed.
It's what they did here is this is where we saw some changes in relation to the previous year, to the previous law. What they basically are trying to do is to be more, they have more stringent requirements for bigger companies than for mid-sized companies and micro companies.
Excellent. So you have touched on my next question, which is this law has been recently amended and they have substantially amended the tax benefits. What are the current tax benefits?
Indeed, this is where the new law will see substantial amendments in relation to the tax benefits. Now, what they did here, the first the first amendment that we've seen is they basically change the notion of fiscal stability, which was under the previous law, and they replace it with that of stability in the enjoyment of the benefits. So you will have, you will continue enjoying the benefits as long as you comply with the requirements established in the law. But there is no fiscal stability as in the previous law. So that would be the first substantial amendment. Secondly, we should mention the social security contributions. There's a tax credit bond here. So beneficiaries can obtain from a non-transferable tax credit bond. This is in comparison to the previous law. It was a one-time transferable bond. Now it's non-transferable. And it is now up to 70% of the paid social security contributions for every employee that is associated to the promoted activities. Now, these bonds can be used within 24 months to pay national taxes such as VAT and other federal taxes. I should mention as well that the 24-month period can be extended for a further 12 months, but under specific circumstances. And as a novelty, yes, so the new law says that it cannot be used. I said that it can be used to pay national taxes, VAT and other federal taxes. But what the law establishes is that it cannot be used to cover income tax obligations, unless, there's always an exception in the law, the beneficiary carries out exports derived from their promoted activities, and this will be up to the percentage that they have reported when they register in the regime. Now, finally, in relation to the bond is capped at 7 times the numbers of employees allowed for medium-sized enterprises. That is basically 3,745, so just below 4,000 employees. Yeah, so it will be 7 times the number of the employees allowed. And another, I should also mention that the bond can be increased to 80% of the paid social security contributions, provided that we have newly onboarded employees. And those newly onboarded employees should either be women, transsexual or transgender persons, professionals with graduate degrees in engineering or natural sciences or unexact science, any individuals with disabilities or individuals who before being employed receive welfare programs, or alternatively, if individuals reside in an unfavorable area or provinces with lower relative development. That is in relation to the bond. Another significant change that I would like to point out, it's in relation to income tax. Now, the previous law established a reduced 15% corporate income tax, and this was as long as the beneficiaries maintain their payroll in the conditions established by the regulations. Now, the significant change relies on the fact that the new law provides that the beneficiaries, rather than to, they will enjoy a percentual discount on their total corporate income. It is only in relation to the promoted activities, and it will be determined each year as follows. So it's going to be 60% for micro and small enterprises, 40% for medium-sized companies, and 20% for large corporations. And these benefits will apply to both Argentine and foreign sources of incomes. So as you can see here, there's a change in the legislation. Yes, before it was a 15% flat without distinguishing the type of company that you would have, whereas now it will be a percentual discount which is 60% for micro companies, 40 for medium, and 20 for large. So it's escalonated, if you see. I would also like to point out in relation to VAT withholding and collection regimes. Again, there's a change here because beneficiaries who carry out the exports within the promoted activities are not subject to VAT withholdings or collections. In the old law, the previous law, it did not provide for such distinction, yes? And it granted the benefits to all the regime's beneficiaries alike. The last point in relation to taxes that I would like to make is in relation to foreign taxes. So the old law allow beneficiaries, it will give you to deduct a tax credit. So you will get a tax credit derived from any payment or withholding of foreign taxes. And this was even if the income qualified as Argentine source of income. Now, the new law establishes that the beneficiaries may record as an income tax deductible expense. So you don't get a tax credit, it is a deductible expense on any payment or withholding of foreign taxes. And that's the main difference. So before you would get a tax credit from the payment of withholding of foreign taxes, where now it is a deductible expense. So I think that there has been substantial changes, as I just mentioned, in relation to the tax benefits. And that those are the main benefits that I would like to point out, Susanna.
I think that those are very attractive to a lot of companies. So perhaps, I mean, that is the main, interesting point that I would, call towards this law, and, the benefits a company can take, not only for development, but also for, tax benefits of the operations.
Exactly, exactly.
Well, I have another question, but I'm going to just invite everybody to pose their questions in the Q&A section. We have a question here, and just please feel free to include your question in the box here. I have worked for Globant, one of the Argentine companies mentioned by Federico. The current Fernandez government is not pro-business, unlike Macri. Are you optimistic that this new law will really help companies or help unions in Argentina?
I understand the point. It does, as I said, look, the main purpose for the amendment of the law, it was a stricter addition for the requirements for large entities, and a more relaxed one for pymes, as they are called in Argentina, or micro companies. So there are more benefits for pymes and more limited benefits for large entities. We do hope, no matter who's in politics, that the law will help the country move forward. So from that point of view, I would like to stress the difference is that what the government was trying to achieve, which was to basically provide more benefits for pymes and small companies than for unlimited the benefits essentially for larger entities.
I think your presentation, Federico, has been very comprehensive. Just for everybody to know, I will be sharing some slides so that everybody can have like a physical handout, or not physical at the moment, but just something to go back to after this presentation. From my part, what do you think was the main purpose for the amendment of the law? Was it needed because of what reason?
Well, I think it's kind of related with the previous questions in the sense that the main reason for the amendment, I think that what the Congress and the government were trying to achieve was actually to provide, to restrict the benefits for larger companies, because as I mentioned during the presentation. Before you would have, for example, a reduction of 15%, and there was no distinction between the different types of companies, whereas now you have more benefits for premise and micro companies, whereas and you have a stricter addition to the requirements for larger entities when it is more relaxed for smaller companies. So I think that is what they were trying to achieve. They were trying to make a distinction in terms of who they want to benefit with this law.
All right, perfect. Now, you touched on this before, but just for clarification, how can foreign companies benefit directly from this incentive?
Well, foreign companies, so they must have some sort of presence in Argentina in order to benefit from this law. So they need to set up a branch, or they have to acquire a participation in a local company, or to incorporate a new subsidiary in the country. And they would need to comply with the requirements that I have already mentioned in the law. But just basically to recap, they must perform one of the promoted activities on their own behalf and as their principal activity. They need to be registered in the National Register. Remember that they need to be in compliance with the fiscal, labor, and social security, and they would need to meet at least 2 of the 3 requirements, which were the continuous improvements in the quality of the services or the adherence to a quality norm, the investments in employee training or research and development, and the third one was the exports of goods and services. So as long as they have some sort of presence in Argentina and they comply with the law, they would be able to benefit from the regime.
Very interesting, you know, going back to what you were saying about hiring new employees and the gender and inclusion aspects of that. I think that is a very interesting point in the, obviously we work a lot on the sustainable goals for companies and how companies approach, you know, hiring new people and, you know, being sustainable in that way. So that's interesting. This law is very specific about that. I find it particularly attractive, and I think that is something that many companies will benefit from, as well as employees, definitely.
Yes, that's in relation to the social security, the bond, which it can be increased. Yes, wonderful. I think it's a good advancement in terms of promoting the export of software products, but not only, as I mentioned before, not only software products, but any sort of economic activity that applies the knowledge and data digitalization process, and as long as it can be exported.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Federico. I'm going to stop sharing here. Give me 1 second. Excellent, here I'm back. So thank you very much. I don't have any more questions. If anybody has any further questions for Federico later on, please feel free to contact him through the chamber or directly. His details were on the slide. But I will be sharing both the recording and the slides with everybody. And thank you very much, Federico, for your time. I think your presentation has been extremely clear. And this law, as I said at the beginning, and as we see at the chamber, is very attractive. It provides a lot of opportunities and a lot of bilateral possibilities to work on. So without further ado, I thank everybody again, and I'll see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Susana. It was a real pleasure. Thank you very much to the chamber and to everyone present. Any questions or any further questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. So thank you very much. It was a real pleasure.
Excellent. You take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Yes. Bye-bye.